And good morning and namaste, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge is brought to you by Hindu Pact. Hindu Pact is the Hindu Policy Research and Advocacy Collective. It is an initiative of World Hindu Council of America. Hindu Pact comes live every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern. That's 8 o'clock Pacific, and we talk about contemporary American Hindu issues. And today we have a fascinating topic. But before that, let's bring on Utsada. Utsada is here. Utsada is Utsav Chakrabarti. Utsada is the executive director of Hindu Pact. And I am Ajay Shah. I am the president of World Hindu Council of America, or VHPA, and convener of Hindu Pact. And Utsada, what a couple of weeks it has been, right? I mean, uh, we have a new prime minister in UK, and as I was telling you a little bit earlier, that it's a uh, people are in somewhat of a state of shock because Liz Truss, who was the prime minister who got elected after beating the newly elected Hindu prime minister of UK, Rishi Sunak. Liz was voted out of power in 44 days, the shortest serving prime minister of UK, and now we have a new prime minister, and that's Rishi Sunak. Welcome, and I hope you're doing well. I know you had a rough couple of weeks and I hope you've recovered from your cold and food poisoning and everything else that you went through.
Yeah, it was a very hectic week. My voice is gone, so I hope everybody can hear me. But yeah, it was the perfect storm of many unhappy things. My daughter got sick, I got sick, cold, food poisoning, fever, a lot of things together. So, yeah, I'm slightly better, but my voice is
That's
not good.
good to know. I know you've also had very busy for Hindu Pact. They were really busy past 2 or 3 weeks, where we were able to through all the hard work that you have done, we were able to get the Bangladesh genocide resolution introduced in the House. So now that is gaining strength, and I mean, towards the end of this show, you'll give a little bit of update on that. We launched for the first time ever a voting website, a voter education website called Hindu Vote. It was there for the last election, but now it is at the congressional level, and it helps people decide candidate in a local constituency level. And we also are very active in the Tenek Democratic Municipal Council issue in New Jersey, where the city, a city which is a democratically ruled city, the Democratic Party committee in that city has passed a very blatantly Hinduphobic resolution, and the Hindus from all different organizations, 75 organizations have come out to protest. That includes Hindu Pact and VHPA, but also Hindu Mandir Executives Council and Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh and Seva International and all of these organizations, several local mandirs, they're all active in that. But so all of this is going on in US, whereas in UK, which is now reeling from the uh, you know eh, anti-Hindu violence, there's no other way to put it. In Leicester, and we did a whole show on that about a month ago, uh, and of all things, in a completely unexpected move, the prime minister resigns, and there's a new election that was supposed to take place. But before that, um, all the opponents of Rishi Sunak, who used to be the Treasury Secretary, or what people would call it, Finance Minister or Treasury Secretary, uh, he he was the only one standing. So, and he was sworn in as the Prime Minister of Britain. What a day, right? So that he goes to a mandir, and I have some pictures of him. Uh, I Can you imagine? Here is the Prime Minister of now the Prime Minister of UK. He is decorating the 10 Downing Street. By the way, he was sworn in on a day of Diwali. Here is him praying at a ISKCON mandir. Here is him doing a cow worship, and I don't think I can play this video, but it's a really nice video of him doing cow worship. A cow worshipper as the prime minister of UK. Let me make it a little bigger so that so you can see here a cow worshipper as the UK's prime minister. I mean, what would it do to all the Hindu haters, right? The
For lack of a better phrase, I would use the phrase that the British gave us: "Holy cow!"
Well, as someone I know, would put it in a different phrase that all the Hindu hating antibodies have come out.
Yeah,
So what
absolutely.
happened with Sada? Give us your view.
Well, I would put it very simply, and this is something that we all have to understand, that the Britain, UK that we know today, the United Kingdom that we know today, is a country that is evolved from its own colonial origins, and today, despite the atrocities that were committed throughout its colonial times by the British, the British were a mercantile society, so their entire colonial rule was driven by just one agenda: to loot the countries they were ruling. That was pretty much it. And there is no two ways to put it. People can sugarcoat it in whatever way they want, but that was pretty much it. And whatever industrialization or transportation infrastructure were added to those countries during the colonial period by the British was purely done to move raw material and special products that were unique to those countries to Britain. And that's why so the British were mercantile looters, and that's all they did. So that was the British society, that was the colonial rulers. But as an outcome of that society, eventually, as time progressed, people from these colonial societies came and became part of the British Empire, and they became British. So Rishi Sunak's grandfather is one of those people, like millions of Hindus around the world, who are British Hindus. And Rishi Sunak is the grandson of one of those British Hindus. There are two things people have to understand here. Rishi Sunak is British as you can get. Rishi Sunak is Hindu as you can see. Just now you pointed out. Other identities that are associated to Rishi Sunak are identities that are derivative of people's desire to connect him to ethnicities, to cultures, to traditions, and whatnot, and geographies. But I don't believe, that's what I want to say on the outset itself, that that is who Rishi Sunak represents. So we have to be very careful going forward in dealing with, I mean, we are not dealing with Rishi Sunak, but people and diplomats around the world and nations around the world who are dealing with Rishi Sunak as the Prime Minister of Britain should have to realize that he is a British Hindu, and therefore he represents the British interest.
Yeah, so that's interesting you said that because this is what Rishi Sunak himself said. He took an oath on Bhagavad Gita to be the Prime Minister of Britain, and he actually said that I'm now a citizen of Britain. Well, now is multiple generations, I guess, but my religion is Hindu. My religious and cultural heritage is Indian. I proudly say that I am a Hindu, and my identity is also Hindu.
See, this is the important part. Look at the last sentence. Even though his cultural heritage is Indian, which he very rightly see, this is a smart leader. You know, every word he uses is very well measured and very particularly used to make a point. The last sentence, he doesn't use the word Indian. He says, I
That's right.
proudly say that I am a Hindu and my identity is also a Hindu. So, see, this is the most important part that people around the world have to understand, including those in Europe, America, India, and everywhere else.
And it's interesting you say that because yesterday we had a Hindu Heritage Month, celebration for concluding event for the East, and we had a whole bunch of kids, well, I shouldn't say kid, youth, who were in their in either high school or in college, and they were of Indian origin. But we also had people from Bali, and we had people from Indonesia, and we had people from some other countries. And people, the youth who were of Indian origin, even though there were one or two generations in Australia or other places, said that their identity is Indian. And I actually, as an audience member, I asked them the question that wouldn't your broader identity really be Australian, but your culture, your religious identity, which is a much bigger global identity, Hindu. And I think to the three youth spoke up and said we should have said that our identity is actually Hindu because we are global representative of Hindu dharma. So I think it is the way, especially the first and second generation thing. But you can see that the evolution of uh, thought in the third generation when you talk to someone like Rishi Sunak, because they have a much better understanding that it is their broader Hindu identity that is much more global. And so they can make they can still be patriots, whether they're Americans or British or Thai or Ghanaians or South African or whatever. They can still be patriots to their country, which is what we would expect non-Hindus to be in India, and yet retain their religious identity in a way that they would want, right? So that this is it was very interesting evolution of a very interesting evolution of narratives. So when Rishi Sunak first lost, a month and a half before he did, uh, this is the kind of, I want to show this because if I just talked about it, nobody would believe this. So this is the narrative that Hindu haters, Hindu phobes, presented. Um, so UK Foreign Secretary, so there was a news item that UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss defeats Indian origin former Chancellor Rishi Sunak. Uh, so Chancellor is their term for finance, a Treasury Secretary or Finance Minister. They call it Chancellor in the Conservative Party leadership race to be next PM. And then here is Farhan Ashfaq saying United Kingdom, UK, Uttar Pradesh, UP बनने से बच गया. So it's like, oh, we saved UK from becoming UP being a state ruled by BJP and Swami Adityanath, who is a well-known Hindu leader. And then taking off of that, a blue tick mark, human rights, so-called human rights activist, advocate Priyadarshini Telang said, गोबर खाने या गौमूत्र पीने से यूपी के मुख्यमंत्री बन सकते हो, यूके के प्रधानमंत्री नहीं. At Rishi Sunak, congratulations, Liz Truss. Now, here's Rishi Sunak. He's not trying to impose his will on anyone. He worshipped the cow as hundreds of millions of Hindus do, as we consider cow to be Gau Mata. And this human rights advocate, a human rights activist, instead of respecting human rights of every individual, says that by eating cow dung, this is how derogatory a Hindu hater, so called human rights activist, can get. And a cow urine drinker can be UP, uh, you know, chief minister, but cannot be a prime minister of UK. This is the kind of, I mean, look, there's, just the fact that he went to a mandir and he offered a prayer to cow who is looked at as mother, Gomata. This is the kind of visceral Hindu hate that a human rights advocate, human rights activist brings out. And so this is so the what do you say to that before I go to
See,
the next one?
I think these are just competing memes, competing toolkit content that was shared. First of all, I just wanted to say something about Liz Truss becoming the prime minister in the first place. I think the fact that Rishi Sunak did not become the prime minister after Boris Johnson stepped down and Liz Truss was made the prime minister points to some inherent issues within the leadership of the Conservative Party in terms of their desire to let somebody like Rishi Sunak, who is not quote unquote white British, you know, Anglican Church person, Church of England person, uh, to become the prime minister. So I do believe there was some foul play in that. There was a desire within the leadership not to let Rishi Sunak reach the top position and instead Liz, because his popularity within the Conservative Party was way higher than Liz Truss's. She was not even in the top 10. Actually, she was like number 9 or so. So yeah, I take that. She was number 9 literally in the leadership ladder, and then she kept climbing and climbing, and until like they literally made her the prime minister. Everybody knew it was not going to work. I mean, the British are, especially during this conflict in Europe that is engulfing the economy of Europe, the British were in one of the worst situations, are in one of their worst situations. So I knew that it will take somebody more competent than Liz Truss to become the, prime minister and save UK from its current predicament. And I think going forward, Rishi Sunak will take care of that. But I just wanted to make a point that Liz Truss shouldn't have been the prime minister in the first place.
Yeah, really. I mean, she was the I know, even the 44 days that she was in power, she wreaked havoc in UK. Right, the economy was tanking, and it's not like it's not that uh, people who initially thought that she should be prime minister were they all realized that they had made a mistake. So yeah, it was a 45 days, 44 days late, but at least it was on the auspicious occasion of Diwali, so it can be too bad. So that then then he becomes the prime minister, and the narrative completely changes. Right, the new narrative now emerges, and the new narrative goes like this: um, that look, here is Great Britain, here is UK. Now they have elected a uh, prime minister who is from a minority community. When is India going to elect? And all of a sudden, this shifts to India. When is India going to elect a prime minister who is a Muslim? And someone with the Twitter handle Khalistani said, "When is it going to be a Sikh?" Obviously, without knowing the history that out of 75 years of Indian independence, 10 years the prime minister for 10 years the prime minister was a Sikh, without knowing that for
Not
half
just
of
the
India's independent
not
nature,
just
the
the prime
president,
minister, not at the height of the Khalistan insurgency
yeah,
in Punjab, when Punjab was in flames because of the Pakistanis and the Khalistanis, and
yeah,
poor Punjabis, Hindus and Sikhs were getting killed. The president of India
president,
was a Sikh.
yeah, Gyani Jail Singh was the president.
Yes, that he was a president when the entire country was under the target of Khalistanis, and
Yeah.
then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was a prime minister for 2 terms, and the
How many
Khalistanis were
people have
still.
been prime ministers for 2 terms, Utsada, in entire history of India?
It,
Uh,
yeah, it was
is it
Prime Minister
Nehru,
Manmohan Singh, Nehru, Indira
Nehru,
Gandhi,
Indira Gandhi,
and that's it,
and
and now Narendra Modi.
now Narendra Modi. So Narendra Modi is still in his second term. He is not finished. How many people finished 2 terms? Only
That's
three.
three, and that's one of them is a Sikh.
One of them is a Sikh.
And yeah, so see, the thing is that the I think the Khalistanis are the person who ran that Khalistani account probably is a Pakistani,
Yeah.
because I think even Khalistanis are not that dumb. I mean, they are dumb. They are dumb, but I have to. I think it was a Pakistani who ran it.
Yeah. So now the narrative changes, right? Because now he's already become prime minister. Now what do you say? Well, this is what if you are, uh, you know, if uh, if you are a Hindu hater, then these are the things that you would say. So the first thing you would say is this: if Rishi Sunak becomes prime minister, this will be his new cabinet. Bear in mind, Rishi Sunak thinks that this lot of super beings are actually real, as well as believing in rebirth, transcendence, and other baffling Hindu nonsense. Now, would anyone say this about Christianity or Islam if there was a believer in those faiths who were to become prime minister of any country?
No, so see, the thing is that every prime minister of UK actually, is goes to the Church of England, and every king and queen of UK actually gets married in the Church of England. So now, would this person have said the same thing about the King of England, the King of UK, when they went to the Church of England and put up a picture of a Middle Eastern guy, uh, you know, a Jewish person of Palestinian heritage, and said, this is the crap this person believes in. Uh, like, it is only Hinduphobia. You can just call it Hinduphobia and nothing else. There,
Blatant Hinduphobia.
yes.
Right. Okay, so then let me bring out some more stuff that you can react to. This is an unending assault on Hindu dharma, Hindu icon, and a lot of it, Utsada, comes from Hindus or so-called Hindus. So let's see this one. I dread. This is from Aditya Iyer, and he says, I dread the damage Sunak will inevitably wreak domestically, but I'm also worried about his foreign policy regarding India. We have seen upper caste NRI diaspora groups successfully combat anti Hindu fascist criticism by labeling it as Hinduphobia. And that was before a Hindu, in double quotes, I don't know why in double quotes, he's already saying I'm a Hindu, prime minister. And here's from Basit Mahmood. The rise of Rishi Sunak is not a sign of how we are some great meritocracy. It's a sign that class privilege, going to elite private schools, knowing the right people, and having obscene amount of wealth work in your favor. The exact opposite of social mobility and meritocracy. And so
Hold on,
that's
hold
I
on.
want to take these two
Yeah,
because
yeah,
these two got class by itself. One is talking about class and the other is talking about caste.
correct. So I want to address Basit Mahmood first. Basit is a very Pakistani Punjabi name, so I believe he is a Pakistani. Uh,
He
so
should be proud, right? Someone from Gujranwala is the prime
yeah, so I
minister of.
think I think he need to go back and call Islamabad and get his messaging right, because either he claims, because 10 minutes later we will show you how after he became prime minister, Pakistanis have been saying that he's from Gujranwala, Pakistani Punjab, and so either they have to claim him as a Punjabi from Pakistan, whose ancestors were from what was then India, but today is Pakistan, unfortunately, or they go after him and do this class bullshit. Because you see, at the end of the day, in UK, education does matter. Most leadership in UK, whether it is in the Labour Party or in the Conservative Party, both parties, the political leadership, especially in the top echelons, are from top universities and private people who went to private schools and prep schools. Actually, that's not just about UK, that's also about America. In America, also, it's the exact same thing. Uh, you know, there are a certain type of people who end up becoming the leaders of the country. That's a whole different conversation. And coming from a Pakistani, it's even funnier because they don't even let any non-Punjabi become their prime minister and blow off their head with a bullet if they do. So Pakistani shouldn't be talking about it in the first place. But nevertheless, the other one regarding this whole Hindu, one thing I like about that comment is that this Iyer fellow admits that Hindus are able to successfully counter their caste divisive narrative by claiming Hinduphobia. He admits that Hindus are successful because it is Hinduphobia. Despite not having the media on their side, despite not having a bully pulpit, despite not having massive, you know, organizations like New York Times and Washington Post on our side, Hindus have been able to successfully counter the divisive narratives peddled by this Iyer fellow and the Islamists, because they are talking about the truth, and it is Hinduphobia that they are trying to defend against. So yeah, that I'm glad this guy admits that at least.
Yeah, and he actually, I was trying to bring this up when I brought up something else, but I want to get your view on this also, because he then goes on to say, um, I use note that I use quotation marks not to avoid the sad reality of his caste privilege. And I don't know what caste privilege he had growing up in Africa and in UK as a minority Hindu, in those countries. But he says caste privilege, and someone with the name Aditya Iyer of all things. Though given he grew up here, him being upper class is more germane to understanding why he's such a wonker. But because, like all Tories, his real religious background is liar. Or that's some UK specific thing, right? And then he goes on to say, uh, a trend over the last 15 years has been Indian diaspora groups in the West desperately trying to obscure the genocidal Hindu fascist policies of the Modi government, especially as more Western commentators and politicians start to take notice. They can only resort to such tactics. Here in India, opponents of Hindu Führer get assassinated, um, or die under mysterious circumstances. That is his claim. So the uh,
I just wanted to
um,
say something here.
you
I
know,
think I think Aditya Iyer had these things inside his head. Rishi Sunak was not in his mind. I think he looks for, so he has 3 4 words he wakes up with every day. Whether he likes tea or coffee or chai, I don't know, whatever he drinks or doesn't drink, he sits and wonders, Aditya fellow, that how am I going to use the word Führer, which is the German one word for the ruler or father. How am I going to use the word Führer, which was Hitler's name, genocide, fascist, Hindu, and caste in a single tweet? How am I going to do it? So he wakes up every day morning and he works out different ways and looks at trend lines of what is it that is trending today, and then tries to fit in the word genocide, further, fascist, Hindu, and caste and Modi under one tweet.
yeah,
And I think occasionally he's able to do it. I think in the Sunak, he needed 5 6 tweets to do it. But
yeah, it's as ridiculous as it is, right? I mean, look, I mean, he is saying the one that part that I think it's ridiculous and is worthy of rejecting outright with a
he missed out one thing though, very
yeah.
important thing. And I think he's not in America. He should come to America. He will pick that up. He should use the word white adjacent.
Well, so he's coming. There's somebody else has. So I'm coming to that.
Okay. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
getting worried. I
You have
was
to give
getting
people
worried.
credit where it's due. They don't miss out any of these
I
words.
was getting worried. I was getting worried. Like,
Yeah,
what's
don't
going
be.
on? They're losing
You
their
have to
term.
have faith in people, so that
Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
really people who hate Hindus. I mean, you have to give them some credit. They have a list of words and they have been given a task. They're going to finish it.
One thing though has gone out of the toolkit nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't know if it shows up here or not. Because the terrorists in Kashmir, the jihadists in Kashmir have been using the word cow piss drinkers too many times for Hindus. The mainstream, these idiots like this Iyer fellow and all, they've started reducing the use of the word cow piss
No, no,
drinker.
no. I just showed you that
Oh, you
tweet,
have
which
you have a cow
started
piss
with
drinker?
cow dung eater and cow piss
No.
drinker.
Like cow piss. I want to see cow piss drinker.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it is there. I will bring that up so that I didn't know that you would miss that so much.
oh no
But
no I
yeah, I'm sorry. You missed that. So let me. We talked about it in the beginning. Let me reshare this because I don't want you to be deprived of your rightful, quest to
yeah
see that quote. So
I
please, uh, that is the blue tick mark advocate, human rights advocate, and activist Priyadarshi Telang. गोबर मूत्र खाने या गोमूत्र पीने से यूपी के मुख्यमंत्री बन सकते हो, यूके के प्रधानमंत्री नहीं. This is the Hindi
Oh,
one, but there are English ones which say the same
no, no,
thing,
no,
and
that
quite a few of
qualifies.
them.
That qualifies. That qualifies.
Yeah, also that, I mean, I don't want you to go home disappointed today, saying that you didn't,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
some
I,
people failed.
as a Hindu, it was like, how can you can you call me fascist, you call me everything, and you haven't called me a cow piss
No,
drinker
no,
yet.
no.
How is that possible?
I think they're not going to miss that opportunity. Also, the thing that is bothersome here, in all seriousness, is this the new toolkit that has been out for last couple of months, and that is, and we should do an entire show on that, is the export of Hindu uh, the Hindu fascists out of India. And Aditya Iyer kind of alludes to that, and that is what the Tenek Democratic Municipal Council does the same thing, TDMC. And then also here he goes on to and here is your the white adjacency
So I
phrased
just want to
slightly
say
differently.
I just want to say one more thing. See, it is people like Rishi Sunak
Yeah,
and Hindus like Rishi Sunak that are rising in social and political spaces across the world as talented, skilled, smart individuals who are proud to be Hindu and yet can be successful in their
yeah,
societies. It is these people that are causing people like Aditya and people like Mahmood to run the campaign against Hindus and
yeah,
try to cram the words fascist, Hindu, genocide, and all these things under one tweet, and go to people like the mayor of Teaneck or the DNC of Teaneck and beg them to, one in 100 to go and say something about it.
yeah.
So that,
And
yeah,
look, I mean, here is your. I completely agree. And here is your white adjacency, coverage. And he says Hindu phobia preys upon the ignorance of non-Indian communities, and especially the tokenistic EDI conscious efforts of white liberalism. I think EDI is a term they use in UK for diversity and inclusion. So it's equality, diversity, and inclusion. It doesn't exist. Hinduphobia is the Brahminical version of white lives matter. So the uh,
yeah. So
every Hindu is been
this
driven
guy is
out
a
of
this
Kashmir.
guy, yeah.
Yeah,
This guy is a, in Kashmir, in 1989, when the Islamists were targeting the people, the Hindus primarily, and these were Islamists trained by Pakistan, sent by Pakistan. One of the common phrases uh, that they used to say was "Kala mu yakthu," which in English
yeah,
it's called, means black face, spit on your face.
yeah.
So that was the phrase they used to use, "Kala mu yakthu," because people or who were laborers who were from other parts of India, doesn't matter if they were Hindus or Muslims, who were working in Kashmir as in the fields, in the farms, you know, just like immigrants in America work in farms and fields. Uh, these people were targeted by Pakistani sponsored Islamists with the word Kalamu Yaktu. So what
And
Aditya is doing,
also
what
that there are some interesting quotes from
Mhm.
Babur when he invaded India, and they are very similar to what you just said. So this has been going on. The
Not just Babar, you know, most people around the world, whether it is Americans, Europeans, Indians, all sorts of people, irrespective, they love to quote Jalaluddin Rumi, you know,
yeah,
this Persian philosopher. I'm going to use the
right,
word Persian. Central Asians don't get upset at me. The Persian philosopher, who was, quasi Muslim, but he could not escape Islam. That guy, if you read his writings about Hindus and Indians, the guy hated Hindus because of their dark skin.
yeah.
So, what Aditya is doing is actually the Islamist version of Hindu lives don't matter.
And look, I mean, you know obviously he's living in some delusional land, because in last 2 months we have seen attacks
No,
racial
no, no. He's
attacks.
not doing it. I'm telling you, there is a whole.
In Fremont, we have seen it in Frisco, we have seen Hindu temples being vandalized. So these are people calling Hindus out. There was a gang that got arrested in California, of people who were just, I think it's a two or three people gang that were just robbing Hindu women. It is that targeted.
So I'm telling you, this is not. There's a whole generation of young people in universities across America, across the world, that are being fed this kind, because this Aditya fellow is also learning it from somewhere. It is part of. It is
And he's
part
not
of the
opening a
camp.
newspaper, right?
Yeah, it is part of the campus education system now. It is part of the campus narratives, and that is the reason why it is important for organizations like Hindu Pact and people like us to actually go out and oppose these people, because what these guys are doing, what Aditya and all these people are doing, they are normalizing a hate that is dehumanizing the Hindus, using these different, fancy terms that are very academic in nature, and most common people will just listen because they think it's an academic term they're using, but actually it is a catcall for genocide against Hindus.
Yeah, it's interesting because now Rishi Sunak gets elected, and the narrative toolkit, there's a new toolkit out, and the new toolkit says that look how uh, you know how great the UK democracy is, or British democracy is, that they were able to elect. And we talked about it at the beginning of the show, that look how great the British democracy is, that they elected a minority person as their prime minister. And look, America elected Barack Obama as the president. And India, when will India get there? To that extent, that one of the Indian politicians, ORC, actually made a statement that when will India elect a hijab wearing Muslim as the prime minister, without mentioning the fact that even his own political party does not have a hijab wearing president of that party. And his own wife, there was a news item that his own wife would not be seen out in public without a hijab, out be out in her own house meeting the male guests, leave aside being out, taking a public policy role or public role. So this is the person who has the audacity to say to Indians, who have elected, countless presidents from the minority community, some of them quite blatantly anti-Hindu, uh, and even though they were presidents and vice presidents, uh, just one of the recent previous, vice president, uh, had caused damage. There was a Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad who brought, hundreds of thousands of illegal Bangladeshis into Assam. So, but he was the president of India. There were quite a few presidents of India who have been uh, Muslims, who have been, other minority communities. Um, so why? But when it comes to toolkit activism, here it is. So now, if Irfan Bashir says, I want to ask this to some other Twitter user. Um, when the largest democracy would accept a Muslim minority as PM of the country, as you cherish Rishi, you cannot say Rishi. So obviously, this is not someone who is from India, because every Indian would know how to spell Rishi. Sunak's rise. I hope you would assert and write for the greater space to Muslim minorities in India too. I would say that the day Pakistan gets a Hindu prime minister would be a good day for India to have maybe a Muslim prime minister. I think we should have that, quid pro quo with Pakistan. Why not?
Yeah, I think the day Pakistan has a Hindu prime minister, India should also work towards having a, because it's India which is the genocidal, casteist and Hindutva state. Pakistan is not. So let Pakistan have the Hindu prime minister
Yeah,
first.
let's set an example for us to follow.
Yeah, and we will follow. Since we are the genocidal people, you teach us
Yeah,
how
you
to do
teach
it,
us, and we'll do that.
and we'll follow it. So
And here is Rizaul Karim, an India, led by at PMO India, Modi marginalizes minorities, questions their citizenship, and even when they live here for generations, rejoice at Rishi Sunak becoming UK Premier. Rishi is not Indian origin. He was born in UK, brought up as Britain. Modi has made the mockery of our democracy. And I want to club that with the next one, which is everyone focusing on Rishi. This is the one we started the show with. Uh, is saying everyone focusing on Rishi Sunak of India is Sunak's Indian origin and practice of Hinduism should also recognize the openness of the political system that empowers women, minorities, and people who are born abroad to even run for appointment as nation's next prime minister. India has let itself down. This is from Jugraj Singh, who conveniently covers her face because who knows if it's even a real account, or as Elon Musk would say, one of the millions and millions of fake accounts.
So Jugraj actually doesn't know that Rishi Sunak is British, and he was born in UK, and she needs to go and talk to Harish Iyer, because Harish is claiming he's a British elite, and she's claiming he's an immigrant. So they need to figure out the messaging between themselves. And I just wanted to share something, Ajay bhai.
Yeah,
This is from New York Times, and I'm gonna share a New York Times cover on Rishi Sunak. Hold on. Do you see the? Uh,
yes, I
wait,
do.
but
Oh,
it blocks the headline,
yeah,
right?
it blocks the.
Okay. Let me reshare it. Hold on, just 1 minute.
Sure.
I'm gonna reshare it. I was trying to show you a New York Times cover, but let me try again. So this is. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So it is a New York Times headline which says, "For Rishi Sunak, family wealth from outsourcing adds to a secretive fortune." This is New York Times, okay, and this was tweeted by Asha Jadeja, a popular fascist Hindu from the West Coast, as our Islamist friends would call them. Uh, and she's pointing out something very interesting, that even a newspaper like New York Times, which
Yeah,
claims itself to be somewhat, you know, I mean, we know what New York Times is, and
yeah,
it's ridiculous and outstandingly narrative focused. But they are saying, and they are putting, if I mean, secretive fortune. Look at this. Like, has anybody, New York Times or anybody, spoken about the secretive fortune of the Biden family? I mean, Rishi Sunak's quote unquote secretive fortune comes from a company called Infosys, which is probably one of the most open companies you can look into and see what their cash books are.
yeah,
And it's an international company. It's an IT software company.
yeah.
And for New York Times to portray Rishi Sunak's wealth as secretive fortune is tells you how much of a racist and anti-Hindu these people can get, when you know despite their so-called liberal
Well,
credentials.
that is Rishi Sunak's wife's wealth, but Rishi Sunak himself was investment banker and made quite a bit of money on his own. Uh,
Yes,
I mean, after growing up uh,
I mean,
as
I,
a
I believe he was in
son of
Goldman
doctors or
Sachs.
pharmacists or whatever, right?
He was in Goldman Sachs. Yeah, he was
He
in
was in
Goldman
Goldman
Sachs.
Sachs, and he you know he earned a lot of money. I mean, that's is any capitalistic society, people do make money. I mean, why would that be lost? But it's not like New York Times is giving away the newspapers for free, right? You were not able to show the actual New York Times cover because they wanted your subscription, which adds to their secret wealth.
Exactly.
So, continuing on that, here's the other interesting tweet. This is from Bharat Rao, and Bharat Rao says Rishi Sunak becoming UK PM shows the true democratic diversity of a society. Well done, lovers of football and fried fish and chips. as did Barack Obama becoming president of the US. When will India be inspired? Where marginalization of minorities is the prevalent mood. Um, and Kushal L, who also writes the name in Urdu, says, Sir, Swami 39 Rishi Sunak becoming UK shows democracy as did. And it's the same thing, right? As you can see how the toolkit journalism works. It's exact same tweet tweeted by two people.
In fact, whenever you see a name Bharat, in, I would say it's one of Elon Musk's fake accounts that are doing this.
Yeah. And
Bharat,
here's
it's
Kunal
like
Kamra.
if I were to create a fake account and call it Pakistani Amjad or
Yeah, there you go.
Pakistani Khan or something like that. That's what when they create fake accounts, they do Bharat Rao.
Yeah, exactly. And here's Kunal Kamra, who is a well-known comedian, right? And he says Sanghis are proud of Rishi Sunak becoming PM of Britain, as they always love to claim victories they had nothing to do with, just like the Indian independence struggle. And this is a whole bunch of tweets that came out that said, "Hey, look, uh, Sonia Gandhi could not become the prime minister of India." And the only reason I bring that up is because it is there's a theme here that look, Indians are successful in UK, in Indian Kamala Harris, partly of Indian heritage, partly of Caribbean heritage, is now the vice president of America. Uh, and Rishi Sunak now is the prime minister of UK. But India is not open because Sonia Gandhi did not uh, become the prime minister of India, and that somehow shows that Hindus, and I'm not talking about Indians, but are in Hindus are not as accepting of others, and a broader point being that the universality that Hindus claim is quote unquote fake.
So here is when I would have compared Sonia Gandhi with Rishi Sunak. Okay, if Sonia Gandhi's grandfather would have come to Andaman and Nicobar Islands, lived there, and then moved from Andaman and Nicobar Islands to mainland India, lived there. Then Sonia Gandhi's parents were born in India, lived there. Sonia Gandhi was born in India, gone to school in India, and then ended up marrying Rajiv Gandhi. Then I would have considered Sonia Gandhi in the same position, literally, as Rishi Sunak. Any other comparison between Rishi Sunak and Sonia Gandhi is a false narrative.
Yeah, I would also just go as far as to say that as long as Sonia Gandhi was born in India, and then she had claimed the prime ministership of India,
No, yeah, I'm the reason I'm
I would
saying that.
not even go as far as you've
But
gone,
they
which
don't
is
even want to acknowledge that Rishi Sunak is actually British, and his parents are British. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, and Sonia Gandhi is, wasn't even Indian until like halfway through her marriage with Rajiv Gandhi.
yeah. I
She
mean, she
didn't even
lived
carry it.
as
Yeah,
the she lived. She was it would be no different than first generation Hindus, or Indians claiming the right to be
it's
the
like me
president of
becoming the
America.
president of United States, or
Yeah,
it's like if I was living in UK, it's like me becoming the prime minister of UK. That's the comparison with Sonia Gandhi.
or president of US.
As I said, the president of
We would
United
have loved
States.
to see you president of US, but
Hey, you never know. Something will change, and
yeah, there's a 25th Amendment, so that just for you. Hey, so I want to give you a flavor of what one of the newspaper,
Ajay bhai, we are though running out of time. You have to
we
keep
are
going.
running out of time, so I want to just close with this. So one of the newspaper, uh, you know, uh, news magazines contacted me for a statement on Rishi Sunak, and I want to bring out one point that I made, and I think the implications on the Hindus in US. And one of the things I said is that this should actually provide the Hindu politicians in America the moral strength, if they needed one, uh, to stay true to themselves and be Hindus religiously, culturally, and uh, people will vote for them. They don't have to be all like Bobby Jindal to abandon their cultural and religious roots, thinking that by doing so they will find better acceptance. So I think there's a lesson here for Hindu politicians in America, that people will respect you a lot more if you stay true to yourself, rather than adopt, you know and for political purposes. Is genuine, but for political purposes, if you do this gymnastics, nobody will respect you. Any thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you. I couldn't have put it better. It is very important that, see, people respect you if you respect yourselves. It's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, nobody would. And that's part of the reason why we were colonized and stayed colonized, psychologically and socially, for a long period of time, and we are feeling the impact of that.
Yep. And also that this is a good retort to people like Churchill and other people, that look, given right opportunities, and Hindus can rise to any level when the level playing field is leveled. Kamala Harris is an example of that, and so is Rishi Sunak. Um, Even though Kamala Harris abandoned the Hindu roots, but she did celebrate Diwali, so it's not all gone. Also, I want to bring up the Hindu Seva Charity Act of the Week. Here we go. Oops.
मनसा सततं स्मरणीयं मनसा सततं स्मरणीयं वचसा सततं वदनीयं मनसा सततं स्मरणीयं वचसा सततं वदनीयं लोकहितं.
And also the Hindu Seva Charity Act of the Week. Oops. I jumped to the other slide. It's is Hindu Vote. As you know, we put out a unique website. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. It's hinduvote.org, hinduvote.org. This Hindu Vote website is unique in many ways. It's the first time you have an opportunity to rate a candidate from the Hindu perspective. We have rated the candidates, voting on different issues that are of importance to Hindus, and every single congressional candidate, whether in House of Representatives or a Senate candidate, has now has a rating, has crowdsourced rating, has individual ratings, and you can go there and you can say if this candidate is going to be good for Hindus or not. This is a first time that any Hindu organization or even an Islamic organization has done to rate an individual candidate. This is absolutely a resource that we are very proud of, and we seek your help and support. You'll hear a lot more about it in the coming days. Bharat FM has done a show. We are working with other media partners to do special shows on Hindu Vote project. We are very proud of the Hindu Vote project of Hindu Pact. Please donate whatever you can, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever you can, one time donation. Go to hindupact.org/donate, hindupact.org/donate, and make your contribution. And Utsada, the last segment for today, because the whole show was about Hinduphobia, so we're not going to pick a Hindu phobe of the week, but the last one, last regular segment of the week, Hindu good news of the week. Utsada, this is the Hindu good news of the week. Statue of Belief, the world's tallest Shiva statue, is going to be inaugurated. Was inaugurated yesterday on in Nathdwara. Oops, sorry, in Nathdwara in Rajasthan. I believe the actual inauguration was today, and it is the largest Shiva uh, statue and you can see this picture, the very nice video that Rajasthan Tourism Department has also put out. I don't think I can play this video today, but please look for it online. This is on a hilltop. The bottom of the hill is all a nice convention center and all that. I believe this is almost 300 feet. I have a little bit more details here for those who want to see. But it was on Saturday, and the actual inauguration is between November 29 to October 29 to November 6. Uh, and I think uh, it is among the top five tall statues in the world, beautifully decorated at night with lights and all that. Hindu art, Hindu sculpture, Hindu statues. Once again, after 1,000 years of break, uh, is now taking off.
Interestingly, Nathwara is also a place that is very famous for Vaishnava Srinath. The name Nathwara comes from Srinath Sampradaya and Srinath Ji Mandir. So this is going to be very unique because this is going to be Shiva and Vaishnava traditions simultaneously, next to each other, and this is fantastic. I mean, this is the Hindu tradition of philosophical diversity, and there is no better place than these expressions that are happening all over the place. So
Yeah,
this is
a
very
lesson for some of the DMK politicians who had said that there is no such thing as Hindu. As latest as 2 weeks ago, they said that instead of having the temple Devasthanam board in Tamil Nadu, they should split that into one in Vaishnava and one in Shaivite. So
See, this is
let
this
this
is
be a
the
lesson
one
for
that
them.
yeah, this is the one that the Christian missionaries and the Islamists want to promote because that suits their divide
That's
and
the narrative.
conquer policy. Yeah.
Yep. Hey, with that, Utsada, we are absolutely on time. So I want to thank you for making time. I know you're not well, you're busy with all the other projects that are going on, but I think this was really worth having show today because it is a unique historic day for global Hindus when one of the Hindus is, elected prime minister of a country where Hindus are, really a tiny minority.
Yeah, and I think this is the beginning of a larger process. And this would involve success and failure. Hindus will succeed, uh, just like by virtue of their effort and
Right.
by virtue of their good intentions, because everybody who has a good intention is loved and cared about. But it will also lead to growing Hinduphobia because there are societies, cults, belief systems, and international agendas out there that do want to destroy Hindus, literally destroy Hindus.
Yeah.
So
And
it's not
hopefully
going
this
to be
is
easy. Yeah, it's going to be a tug of war, but everybody who reads Bhagavad Gita knows who wins. So
absolutely. With that, Utsada, thank you again. And thank you everyone for joining Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge is brought to you by Hindu Pact. Hindu Pact is Hindu Policy Research and Advocacy Collective, an initiative of World Hindu Council of America. Hindu Lounge comes live every Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific. We will see you again next week. Thank you and namaste.
namaste.